One of the things that really stands out to me, historically speaking, with our relationship with Israel, is that a lot of Americans were not informed about all the various times Israel actually worked against us. You keep hearing that Israel's a special ally, but whether you're talking about USS Liberty, whether you're talking about, look, I know that Jake Tapper attacked you for what you said about us arming terrorists in Syria at the behest of the Israelis, but that is what happened. We literally armed Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists in Syria. And ISIS has actually had a bit of a relationship with Israel. There were ISIS fighters who were receiving treatment after getting wounded in Syria. They were getting treatment in Israel. In fact, Israeli media was reporting about that at the time. And so that works against us. Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11. So how does it make sense to integrate a foreign country's military into our own, given the fact that they put their interests front and center, even if that means doing wrong by their own allies?
This is exactly the problem. We just have to realize that us and Israel, regardless of what we say or how comfortable we are with them, that we just have divergent agendas in many cases. Not to mention the fact that, as you pointed out, the Israelis have and will work against us. And this shouldn't surprise us. Just Israel is a very small country. They are literally at war with the vast majority of their neighbors. If you just look at the history of their intelligence services, again, the Israelis are pretty upfront when they actually tell you who they are. The Israeli intelligence services basically say, we will stop at no ends. We will use any deceptions. We will use any means necessary to further our nation's goals. So to let these people have full access into our country is absolutely insane. And I would feel the same way basically about any country. But this is something that's much different. And again, even with our most, I'd say, close partnerships we have, like with the Five Eyes, with the Brits, et cetera, we don't do this. We already have rules on the books for how we share information, how we go and purchase new technology. A lot of the people who are in support of this new part of the NDAA are going to say, well, the Israelis do a great job with tech and research and development. And to a certain extent, there's some validity to that case. But look, there's no reason why we can't go over there and simply purchase or come up with an agreement on a case-by-case issue if there's a specific piece of technology that we want. We do that all the time, all over the world. There's no reason to let them into, our most secretive compartments where we're developing our own technology.
So talk to me a little bit about the give and take when it would come to integrating their military with our own, because there's quite a bit that they would benefit from, certainly. And they would have, by the way, they would have the ability to spy on Americans even more than they already do. I don't understand how that would benefit us in any way, shape, or form. But aside from that, what would they contribute really to our military that we can't either develop on our own or we already have?
There's nothing. And I think anyone who's going to come and say, well, the Israelis can do this one thing, much better than we can, I just think that's absurd. I've heard that for years. There was an obsession for a very long time within, special operations and other parts of the military that the Israelis were out there plying their trade every single day. That was something of a myth during the peacetime years when I came in the military, that the Israelis were in the fight every day. And so, anything that came out of Israel was going to be the greatest tactic, the greatest piece of technology. We've been fighting, unfortunately, we've been fighting in the Middle East now for well over 20 years. So we have plenty of experience. America is where Silicon Valley is. We are the foundation of a lot of this tech. And so I don't think we should forget that. We should remember who we are. And if there's a development, there's a piece of technology that we need, we can develop it on our own. We have the brain power here to do that. There's no reason why we need to go to the Israelis and say, well, you guys can just come on in. I just think that whole argument is preposterous. We should really just be clear-eyed and just see this as yet another entry point that the Israeli intelligence services have found to get themselves deeply embedded with America. Because again, that's in their vital national security interest for the Israelis. If they lose the support of the American government, then they're in a very, very bad way. They know they're probably going to lose the $3.8 billion. They understand that. And so they're actually getting ahead of us by trying to build it into the NDAA now. And that's why we need a lot of public pressure to our representatives to stop this, to get this section cut out of the NDAA.
Yeah, in fact, I don't typically ask our audience to do this. This is maybe the first time, and I genuinely mean it. please call your representatives and demand that they do not vote in favor of this provision in the NDAA. They might be under the assumption that you're ignorant about this. Let them know that you're not, because the fact that the House just passed the War Powers Resolution, you're absolutely right, Joe. It makes it abundantly clear that they're acutely aware of the fact that 60% of Americans do not have a favorable view of Israel. That's based on the latest Pew Research surveys. And maybe if there's enough pressure applied, they'll kind of back away from this. But I do want to ask you about one specific thing that you pointed out. A few years ago, the governors of Texas and Florida were getting a lot of backlash from the Democratic Party because they had implemented a ban on Chinese nationals buying up farmland or any property or land near military bases. And by the way, I gave them props for that. I thought that was a smart thing to do. If this integration provision passes, you note that Israeli manufacturers would operate production facilities in the US, and basically they would oversee some of the weaponry that we build or manufacture here in the US. Can you tell us a little more about that and why it would be a problem?
Starting something new is terrifying. When we launched our Shop TYT store, I was drowning in what ifs. What if no one buys anything? What if the site looks amateurish? I almost talked myself out of it, but I took the leap anyway, and I'm glad I did, because Shopify made it incredibly easy to turn those what ifs into real sales. Shopify is the commerce platform powering millions of businesses globally. Get a load of this, it handles 10% of all US e-commerce. That's amazing. It's behind brands like Allbirds, Gymshark, and yep, our very own Shop TYT. They give you one all-in-one dashboard for inventory, payments, and analytics, so you're not juggling 10 different logins. Need product descriptions? Shopify's AI tools crank out copy and even polish your photos, and mine needs polishing. And if you get stuck, their 24/7 support team has your back. So if you got an idea for a business or a side hustle, stop what-ifing. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. This makes the whole China buying up property next to military bases look almost like JV stuff. I mean, this basically gives them the keys to the kingdom, and I think this being baked into the NDAA and allowing for the Israelis to come in and do joint manufacturing ventures that become programs of record. Because right now, Israeli companies, they can usually find a dual citizen, they can come to America, and they can attempt to get a contract with the U.S. government. And those contracts are hard to get. They're made on case by case basis. However, by actually having it codified into the NDAA, a lot of these different companies could become what we call programs of record. And that would give them basically the ability to get consistent contracts with the DoD. Then they're going to go to different parts of the country and they're going to say, hey, we can set up a manufacturing facility here. And suddenly they're going to be able to get influence with senators and with congressmen who are going to say, I'm bringing home the bacon for my district, for my state. We're creating jobs here. Again, we have to look at this from an intelligence perspective. This is just another means of leverage and manipulation that the Israelis are going to be able to use on our government. And again, we have to ask, like, what's the gain? Again, I just say America needs to, kind of stand with our shoulders square and say, hey, we actually are the home of most of this tech. We don't need the Israelis to have a technological advantage on the battlefield.
Final question for you. Stutzman is pushing for a non-binding resolution. What's the game being played with that? Is he hoping that they'll pass the resolution, it's non-binding, but they're gonna in the future provide military aid to Israel, even with the integration of their military with our own?
Yeah, I think that's just them kind of going one step at a time, incremental. Again, these guys are politically savvy. They're looking at the polling. And so I think by having it be non-binding, it doesn't sound as sticky. But again, if you get them into this defense contracting game, they're really going to codify themselves just into the works and bury themselves even deeper. And again, that access is way more valuable than anything that we could give them in a dollar amount. And then they're also psychologically going to be able to say to us, like, no, we're not little brother getting a handout from you guys anymore. We're your partners. You need us as much as we need you.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.